Hello, I'm Kaiser and welcome to Moose Reads. Before I get started, I want to say that the opinions that I give here are my own opinions. They are extremely subjective. If I dislike a book, it is not a reflection on the author, and it is not a reflection on people who do like it. Different people have different tastes, and that's okay. Today, I will be reviewing Riddles of the Heart by Jenni Ward. This is a romance novella. The description says, May and Kane have known each other since the start of school, but efforts to get to know each other haven't gone well for either. Kane didn't plan on causing a fire in the science lab, and May didn't expect to knock over the new library display. When both end up at the same stall at the August Moon Festival, the mutual attraction isn't missed by a certain old lady. She gifts them a bottle of elixir, and thinking it's just lemonade, both May and Kane drink it. Transported and trapped in an empty Adelaide, the two teens have just hours to solve a series of riddles. They will need to work together because if they fail, the portal to home will be closed for a year. On a night when traditions are celebrated, can a little magic help love to blossom, or will a fateful tale repeat itself? 2 stars. I picked this novella up for free some time ago and decided to read it in September as a replacement for a DNF'd challenge book. The challenge was to read a book involving puzzles or ciphers, so Riddles of the Heart doesn't exactly fit the bill, being entirely riddles, but it's close enough, in my opinion. I generally like puzzles and riddles and things, so I was really looking forward to this prompt, but it seems I've had rather bad luck with it. This book was fine. The story wasn't anything to get excited about, but it wasn't terrible. Also, since it was pretty short, there wasn't a lot of time to really be disappointed with it, even at the points where it did fail. As far as a romance forcing two teens who are too shy to talk to each other to get to know each other, it works just fine. The problem is with the riddles. There was exactly one riddle in this book that wasn't immediately obvious to me, and there was another one that, more than a riddle, was simply a bad joke. Granted, I am an adult, and this is theoretically a young adult novella, but even teenagers would probably feel frustrated with the simplicity of these riddles. Honestly, the story overall felt like it skewed younger than it really should have, which I suppose is one of its failings. Another of the story's failings revolves around the mythology that it's using to move it along. It isn't necessarily bad, but it does make some odd assumptions. The Moon Festival is centered around a Chinese myth. I assume it's fairly commonplace for Chinese people, but it's one I, as a white American, have only ever encountered once. That was in the movie Over the Moon, so if you've seen that, you have at least some idea of the story. The story references this myth multiple times throughout, which is fine, except that it never actually tells the tale. I've seen Over the Moon exactly once, so I kind of know the gist of the story, but the details are extremely vague. If you've never heard it, every reference is likely to come off as vague and confusing. Worse still, I get the impression there are multiple versions of the myth. That's not at all uncommon, but without telling the myth itself, it makes it harder still to understand what version we're supposed to be working with. I think the novella would have been greatly served by establishing the myth early on. It wouldn't have been difficult to have May tell it to Kane as they were working their way through the riddles, as he is attending the festival in order to run into her, and may not know the context. The novella's biggest failing, however, was in the editing. There were enough repeat words, missing words, and poorly structured sentences to be quite irritating. Additionally, the park is referred to as Elder Park in the first few chapters, and then Hyde Park for the remainder of the story, which seems like a pretty big mistake for Ward not to have caught it. Ultimately, I have trouble believing anyone did even cursory editing to this story after it was written. Honestly, if it had been properly edited, I might have given this novella 3 stars. It's not particularly interesting, but it isn't terrible either. With such poor editing, though, I wouldn't want to read it again. I certainly wouldn't recommend it. That's all I have to say about Riddles of the Heart. If you like this video, I hope you watch more in the future. Thanks for watching this one. Bye!